Be ready. Start. The provisions of the All India Council for Technical Education Act 1987, for short the AICTE Act, are intended to improve the technical education system throughout the country. The various authorities under the AICTE Act have been given exclusive responsibility to coordinate and determine the standards of higher education. It is a general power given to evaluate, harmonize, and secure proper relationship to any project of national importance. Such coordinated action in higher education with proper standard is of paramount importance to national progress. The provisions of the AICTE Act, including its preamble, make it abundantly clear that the AICTE has been established under the Act for coordinated and integrated development of the technical education system at all levels throughout the country and is enjoined to promote qualitative improvement of such education in relation to planned quantitative growth. The AICTE is required to regulate and ensure proper maintenance of norms and standards in technical education system. The AICTE is to further evolve suitable performance appraisal system for technical institutions and universities, incorporating norms and mechanisms in enforcing their accountability. It is required to provide guidelines for admission of students and has the power to withhold or discontinue grants to such technical institutions where norms and standards laid down by it and directions given by it from time to time are not followed. The duty and responsibility cast on the AICTE implies that the norms and standards to be set should be such as would prevent isolated development of education in the country. Section 10 of the AICTE Act enumerates various powers and functions of AICTE as also its duties and obligations to take steps towards fulfillment of the same. One such power, as envisaged in Section 10(1)(k), is to grant approval for starting new technical institutions and for introduction of new courses or programs in consultation with the agencies concerned. It is important to see that the AICTE is empowered to inspect or cause to inspect any technical institution in Clause P of subsection 1 of Section 10 without any reservation whatsoever. However, when it comes to the question of universities, it is confined and limited to ascertaining the financial needs or its standard of teaching, examination, and research. The inspection may be made or caused to be made of any department or departments only, and that too in such manner as may be prescribed as envisaged in Section 11 of the AICTE Act. All these vitally important aspects go to show that the Council AICTE created under the AICTE Act is not intended to be an authority either superior to or to supervise and control the universities and thereby superimpose itself upon such universities merely for the reason that they are imparting teaching in technical education or programs in any of their departments or units. A careful scanning of the provisions of the AICTE Act and the provisions of the University Grants Commission Act 1956 in juxtaposition will show that the role of AICTE vis-a-vis the universities is only advisory, recommendatory, and one of providing guidance, thereby subserving the cause of maintaining appropriate standards and qualitative norms, and not as an authority empowered to issue and enforce any sanctions by itself. From the above principles, it is clear that the AICTE has varied functions and powers under the AICTE Act. It is a specialized body constituted for the purpose of bringing uniformity in technical education all over the country and to ensure that the institutions which are recognized by the AICTE are possessed of complete infrastructure, staff, and other facilities and are capable of maintaining education standards for imparting technical education. It is not necessary for us to refer to various provisions of the AICTE Act in any greater detail, as no controversy in relation to application or interpretation of any of its provisions is raised for consideration in the present case. The facts are primarily admitted, and it is only the exercise of discretion vested in the AICTE which is the subject matter of challenge in the present appeals. Therefore, the state could not have any policy outside the AICTE Act, and indeed, if it had a policy, it should have placed the same before AICTE, and that too before the latter granted permission. Once that procedure laid down in the AICTE Act and regulations had been followed under Regulation 8(4), and the Central Task Force had also given its favorable recommendations, there was no scope for any further objection or approval by the state. We may, however, add that if thereafter any fresh facts came to light after an approval was granted by AICTE, or if the state felt that some conditions attached to the permission. Thank you.